Hello? Hello? Let's try a second. 3 times. Hopefully this time's the charm. Hello? Hello? This time's the charm because Hello? Can you confirm that you can hear me? Whoever's in here, can you just confirm that you can hear me? Because I tried it one stream and... Okay, perfect. I'll start in a moment. Start momentarily. Just gonna wait for some more people to come. Just give it another minute. Okay, thankfully the second attempt is the one that works. What? While we're waiting for more people to come, how y'all doing, whoever's in here? And don't forget, if you're new, hit the subscribe button down below so you don't miss when I go live. And hit the notification button because you'll get notified when I go live. It's free. Google accounts are also free. Literally, if you have Gmail, you have an access to a YouTube account, and you should be able to use that to subscribe to a channel on YouTube. Just going to give it a few minutes and then we'll start. We got an episode, though. One crazy episode. Oh, boy. And I'll also say why I'm starting early, just in case you might have missed why. Because this is earlier than last 2 weeks. Give a few more seconds and we'll start. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back for episode 4 of now called Benny in the Booth podcast. We've got crazy. If you thought things in the past been crazy, it's gone crazier. College football has gone bonkers this week with a bunch of upsets in the top 25. NFL, I mean, I don't even know how to put it. Also crazy week. Predictions for week 8. MLB, we got the wrap up of the League Championship Series plus World Series to finally be talking about. And the NBA has finally started. All here on episode 4. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Hope you're having a good week. Quick few things before we start this week's episode. There is a change to the name of the podcast. It is now Benny in the Booth after long consideration. I just determined that B-ball was giving wrong implications. So now the podcast is officially called Benny in the Booth. This week I was able to do earlier because now I've basically I did not have a baseball club today because it was supposed to be there's supposed to be a lot of rain in the Queens area of New York, and then classes were on Zoom, so they ended up just pushing off everything to Zoom, and the club didn't happen today, so that's why I'm starting earlier. I may consider pushing to Thursdays, not official. We'll have to see. And one other thing is I want to shout out my Uncle Nathan Thomas. Happy birthday. Let's get into this. College football, what a week this was. We'll start out with Ohio State. Ohio State this week played Penn State, Indiana. Think about their matchup next week. Though Penn State also had a crazy game in their own. But Ohio State played Indiana. This game going in was a big-time matchup because last year – Ohio State, Indiana at Ohio State was nail, back and forth more in the second half. And two guys from Indiana dominated Ohio State and kept Indiana in the game, though Ohio State ended up winning. And that's Michael Penix Jr. and Freifogel. I'm forgetting his first name. Penix is the quarterback, or was the quarterback at that time. And Freifogel's their main receiver who they both obliterated Ohio State. And that's what kept Indiana in. Ohio State still ended up winning last year, but it was just hard to watch the highlights with how much Freifogel and Penix were all over Ohio State last year. So this year, which I was actually able to watch the game this week with it being after Shabbos, Penix was out with a shoulder injury, actually. And the minute I saw that, I said, that's the nail in the coffin. And guess what? That was the nail in the coffin. Indiana only put up 7 points to tie the game at 7, and it was all Ohio State from there. Indiana having to use 3 different quarterbacks, having a blocked punt for a blocked or botched punt for a safety, Ohio State's favor. Indiana had to use 3 different quarterbacks in the game. Injuries, fatigue, I don't know what it was. Indiana was in a mess. Ohio State dominated. Their run game was all over them. Their pass game was all over them, and completely dominated Indiana 54-7. Big win, especially with the fact that I was at Indiana this year. Always big to get a road win in your conference. This week they play Penn State, which is also going to be another big game. And we're actually going to talk about their game from last week because, oh my, what a game this was. They were going in 7th ranked Penn State going in against unranked Illinois at home. They lost 20-18. That's not even the craziest part. Another crazy part is they fell down to like 20 in the top 25 rankings. Like they fell. But the craziest part is the fact that it went to not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7, not 8, but 9 overtimes. And just to explain this, because college football overtime rules work differently. In overtime for college football, each team gets a drive. There's no time of 9 minutes left, 7 minutes left. You have a game clock. Obviously, you have to get a snap off by a certain time, but there's no official running clock or a clock that gets stopped in overtime, and it's just punch for punch. Whoever scores and the other team doesn't wins, or if you score more than the other team. Now, something I think they added this year is after a certain amount of overtimes. I think it's after 3 or 4. I don't know exact number, but something like that. Then it becomes just 2-point conversion for 2-point conversion, and that's how the score ended up 20-18 in 9 overtimes. And boy, was this a crazy game. Indiana had a lead at some point. Illinois came back and forth in overtime. Illinois barely beating Penn State 20-18. This week's theme, by the way, for college football is big time top 25 teams getting upset. Now, one thing I didn't write down, and stupid me that I didn't, they do want to cover, is, as usual, my weekly Iowa update, because they're most likely going to be the team out of the other Big Ten conference. And there are also some other big games, like Alabama almost was having a back and forth with Tennessee and looked at points they might lose. They ended up winning, though, 52-24. Unranked Tennessee. 1 second. Iowa this week. Oh, no, wait. Iowa was on bye. That's right. Iowa was on bye this week. And they play Wisconsin next week. But other than that, let's get to the actual upsets. Actually, on Thursday, I believe, we had Coastal Carolina, who last year was a legit threat, actually got a bowl game and lost. Played Appalachian State University, who's known for their upset of Michigan in 2007, and that was a much bigger upset because Michigan was number one, the projected team to be in the national championship game, and it happens to be Ohio State actually made it that year and lost. That Michigan team fell through, let's just say. But Coastal Carolina lost this week, 30-27 to Appalachian State. Another one, Oklahoma was shut out in the first half, down, I think it was like 13-0 or shut down or something, and they ended up fighting their way back against unranked Kansas to win 35-23. But that's not a good sign. Then again, it's the Big 12 where teams will score a high amount of points, but still, that's not good, especially if you want to make the college football playoffs. Wisconsin beat Purdue, number 5 Purdue, 30-13. Pitt actually beat Clemson. Clemson lost once again. They're pretty much at their breaking point. 27-23. Oklahoma State, ranked number 8 going into the week, lost to Indiana. Iowa State. Speaking about Iowa, the other Iowa State. There is a rivalry game every year between the two, 24-21, even though Iowa State's in the other conference. Yeah. And then even though I don't usually do that, actually. But yeah, the rankings got shook up this week, basically, in short. That's college football. But what a crazy week it was. Obviously, there's other scores, but I don't go through all the scores because there's 103 football bowl subdivision teams, and I'm not going through all 130 teams worth of scores. So, plus, like, most people are here for the pro sports, not college football. So, let's get into actual pro sports. NFL Week 7 was interesting to say the least. Thursday Night Football, the Browns and the Broncos. The Browns bounced back big time. Their offense looked a lot better this week. Their defense played a lot better. They gave up a few bad touchdown drives, but overall were a lot better this week. Case Keenum, for backup and not really playing much with the first stringers, was actually pretty good. Like, I give him credit. And even if the Browns have to play without Baker Mayfield for the rest of the season, I'm not overly nervous if it has to be Case Keenum. Obviously, you'd want a better option, but if it's Case Keenum, I'm fine with it, especially after this week. Though the main story for the Browns was Ernest Johnson with 130 yards and a touchdown, and he just dominated the Broncos defense. What's funny is Von Miller came out like, oh, I don't care who's blocking on me. I'm going to beat them. He didn't even get a sack and ended up leaving the game with an injury. Nothing. I don't know what the injury was. But all I say to that is karma. Like, he got karma. As the Browns beat the Broncos 17-14 for a nice bounce back. And boy, they got an interesting game this week. We'll get into that once we get into Week 8 predictions. Giants and Panthers. This was the oddest game one of the oddest games of the week. Though it was an upset as the Giants actually beat the Panthers 25-3. They got a safety on Sam Darnold. Everything was just going right for them. Darnold threw a bunch of picks. Nothing was going right for Carolina. They got to bounce back at some point. I mean, it could be this week, but they got to bounce back. Anyways, Giants won 25-3. Next up, Patriots and Jets. Zach Wilson left the game. Patriots dominated. Not much more to say on that game. Patriots won 54-13. Next up, Tennessee at Kansas City. I don't know what to say about Kansas City anymore. I thought they were going to come and win this game. Yeah, the Tennessee has a good offense. Derrick Henry literally took the Chiefs' defense and made them look like children. I mean, if you want to put it in a better way, you could, but I'm saying, like, that's the way I put it. Like, he dominated them. And Mahomes, once again, had a pick and, like, 2 fumbles. One that was lost and one he recovered. Messy week for the Chiefs as they got blown up by Tennessee 27-3. Packers and football team. This was a bit of a close game, but eventually Packers took over, and they actually have some nice retro jerseys for this weekend for the future of the season. But anyways, they got the win 24-10. Next up, Miami, Atlanta. This was a back and forth game, and Atlanta had a 27-10 to 14 lead, and they all blew the lead, but ended up squeaking out a win on a game-winning field goal as time expired to beat Miami 30-28. Another team that has to figure out what the heck is going on is Miami. Cincinnati at Baltimore, the biggest upset this week. The Bengals go to Baltimore, and this game was back and forth early on, and blow out the Ravens at Baltimore 41-17. Once they took the lead, it was all them. Burrow had a great game. Jamar Chase had a wide open touchdown. There's not much more to say. I say kudos to them, though I'm still concerned about that loss to the Bears. We'll see what happens because they play the Browns coming up very soon. Not this week, but very soon we got Browns-Bengals in Cincinnati. I believe it's in 2 weeks, so that's going to be a fun game. We'll see what happens then. Next up, we have Detroit and the Rams and the Lions. Jared Goff versus Matthew Stafford, each playing their old teams. Early on, it was close. It looked like maybe the Lions would get their first win of the year, but Stafford basically just ran all over the Lions, and the Rams won 28-19. Next up, Vegas versus Philly. This game was all Vegas. Not much to talk about. 33-22 Vegas over Philly. Next up, Arizona at Houston. Houston was actually winning at a point, and he thought, okay, maybe Arizona loses. No, they dominated and won 31-5. And the Rams did get it. The Texans did get a safety. And also what made you think maybe the Texans would win was Kyler Murray went down. He ended up playing the rest of the game and as if nothing happened. But yeah. But Cardinals won the end and they're still undefeated. Buccaneers and Bears, this game wasn't close. All Brady and the Buccaneers. Brady actually got his 600 touchdown, and Mike Evans gave away the football. But they ended up getting the football back. But the fan that was given the football, was actually gotten a good return in honor of giving the football back. In return, he got 2 signed jerseys and a helmet from Tom Brady. 1 signed Mike Evans jersey and game cleats, who's a wide receiver for Tampa. Brady, well, I don't think I need to specify what position he plays. $1,000 to the Buccaneers team store. 2 season tickets for the remainder of this year and next year. And 1 Bitcoin. I think it's a fair trade. If you ask me, I think it's fair. You're more than welcome to put your opinions in the comments or in the live chat. But I do think it was a fair trade. And hopefully he enjoys those gifts. I would take that deal any given day of the week. But either way, Tampa won 38-3. Next up, Sunday Night Football was a sloppy game. There was rain in the middle. Indy beat San Francisco 30-18. Not much more to say on that game. And Monday Night Football, not much to say. Weird, sloppy game, both sides. Saints beat the Seahawks 13-10. And that was week 7. Overall, this week in predictions, I did not do so great. I went 8-5, and my total record of doing predictions on the podcast is now 22-9. For NFL standings update, the Bills are first place at 4-2. The Patriots, followed by the Patriots, who are 3-4. The Jets, followed by that, who are 1-5, and the Dolphins, who are 1-6. AFC North, the Ravens and the Bengals were tied for first place, but the Bengals are in first place because of that win. Both of 5-2, followed by the Browns, who are 4-3, followed by the Steelers, who are 3-3. AFC South, the Titans lead the division at 5-2, followed by the Colts, who are 3-4, followed by the Jaguars, who are 1-5, and the Texans, who are 1-6. AFC West, the Raiders are in first place at 5-2, followed by the Chargers, who are 4-2, followed by the Chiefs at 3-4, and followed by the Broncos, who are 3-4 as well. NFC East, Cowboys are up top at 5-1, followed by football team and Eagles and Giants, a three-way tie for second at 2-5. NFC North, Packers are in first place at 6-1. Followed by the Vikings, who are 3-3, followed by the Bears, who are 3-4, followed by the Lions, who haven't won a game at 0-7. NFC South, you have the Buccaneers in first place at 6-1, the Saints at 4-2, the Falcons at 3-3, and Panthers at 3-4. Last but not least, the Cardinals at 7-0, Rams at 6-1, 2-4 for the Niners, and 2-5 for the Seahawks. That's the standings update. Now let's get into this week's predictions. Thursday Night Football, we got a game to watch. Well, first of all, the teams on bye this week are the Ravens and Raiders. Ravens could use it, maybe not necessarily the Raiders, especially Ravens with their injuries. Thursday Night Football, we got the Packers and the Cardinals. Now I'm going to tell you offhand, there are 2 games this week where that are my dark horse side picks, but my bet is truly the team that's most likely favored. And this is one of them. My pick officially is the Cardinals because, well, that's just general consensus that they will keep their undefeated and beat Packers, especially with Devontae Adams on the COVID IL. Didn't officially test positive, but he might have been near someone who tested positive. There was a coach who tested positive. But I'm picking the Cardinals. But I do think as a dark horse candidate that the Packers could be the team to end the Cardinals' undefeated streak this season. Next up starts Sunday, which is Halloween this year. I will tell you, people, I've been to a Halloween game before. Don't go to Halloween game. It's way weirder, way funkier, sometimes even inappropriate. Don't go to Halloween. Go any other day of the week, any other day of the year for football. Go. Halloween, no thank you. Just from personal experience, I'm telling you that. Just save the money and don't go on Halloween, even if it's day or night. Anyways, start Sunday with Halloween games. You have the Bengals and the Jets. I don't think I really need to go in much detail about that game. Bengals, Titans at Colts. I have the Titans, the Rams at the Texans, the Rams. The interesting Halloween game, the Steelers and the Browns. The first time they're playing each other since the wild card game last year, where the Browns beat the Steelers. If it wasn't Halloween, I'd get on a plane and fly to Cleveland for the game. But Halloween game, no thank you. I do have the Browns, though, because the Steelers' offense has just been in sputter recently. And I don't think it's going to be fixed anytime soon until Roethlisberger's gone from the offense. And they get an offensive line. So, not anytime soon. I have the Browns winning that game. Philly at Detroit. I have Detroit. I think Detroit will pull off their first win of the season. San Francisco, Chicago. Sorry, Bears fans. I have the Niners. Panthers at Falcons. I have Panthers. Dolphins at Bills. I have Bills. Patriots and Chargers. This could be an interesting game, but I do have the Chargers. Jaguars at Seahawks. I have Seahawks. Football team at Broncos. I have Broncos. Buccaneers at Saints. I have Buccaneers. Sunday Night Football, which will be an interesting game potentially. Vikings hosting the Cowboys. I have Cowboys. And Monday Night Football, which is my other dark horse game. Now, because it's just general makes sense pick, I pick the Chiefs. But, however, dark horse, because the Chiefs are coming off that bad loss to the Titans, I think there's a chance they could beat the Giants could win this game. And if the Giants win, that could really put a dent in the Chiefs season. Maybe not over, but put a dent. A major dent. I think it's possible. My pick is officially the Chiefs, but dark horse, I think the Giants could win this game. And that is for NFL Week 8 predictions. We'll see how they go next week. Baseball. It's fitting how literally we were talking about last week, the crazy games up to that point, and the night of the live stream of last podcast was a crazy game. Dodgers-Braves game 3. This was a crazy game in its own. The Dodgers took a 2-0 early lead. Then the Braves hung up a 5 spot between the 4th and 5th to take a 5-2 lead. And it got to 8th where the Braves, I think, were like 5 or 4 outs away. And Cody Bellinger tied the game with a 3-run home run. Tie RBI single by Mookie Betts gave them the lead. Jansen shut the door. Dodgers ended up winning that game 6-5 and a comeback win. ALCS game 4 between the Astros and Red Sox. This was back and forth early on. The Astros struck first. Red Sox took a 2-1 lead. Altuve tied it. And then a 7-run inning started by a controversial pitch called for a ball on Jason Castro. That would have been strike 3, and I believe the end of the inning. And it said they get 7 runs and win 9-2 to even up the series at 2 games apiece. ALCS game 5 was all Astros. They put up 9 runs, 1 in the second, 5 in the 6th, 1 in the 7th, and 2 in the 9th. Red Sox got 1 in the 7th. It was all Astros in that game as they won 9-1 to go up 3-2 heading home. Game 4 of the NLCS was all Braves. So they put up 5 runs in the span of between the 2nd, 3rd, and 5th. The Dodgers ended up getting 2 in the bottom half of the 5th, but 4 more by the Braves in the 9th is what shut the door. Eddie Rosario in this game, and a big reason why he won NLCS MVP. There's more to it, and I'll get to that. He also had 14 hits in the series, which I believe is a record. Yeah, is a new record for a postseason series, I think, in general. But he had a 2-homer game and almost hit for the cycle. And basically what happened was he was a double shy of the cycle, and he comes up in the 9th with a runner on, and he's like, I don't care for the cycle, and hits a 2-run home run. It reminds me of a call, but I'm not going to go over it from the Cubs in the past during their 2016 championship run. But anyways, Braves won that game 9-2 to go up 3-1 once again, like 2020. And everyone was like, well, either we're going to get a repeat of 2020 where the Dodgers come back from down 3-1 to win, or the Braves actually could seal it. Well, Game 5 made it look like it was be 2020 all over again because early on it was a close game. The Dodgers broke out behind Chris Taylor's 3-homer game and a 2-homer game from A.J. Pollock. Braves got 2 early on, but they had no match in that game. Dodgers won 11-2 to make it 3-2 heading to Atlanta. Game 6 in Houston, it was all Astros. Red Sox only got 2 hits that game. Astros put up 5 runs. Maldonado had a great throw to get a guy stealing second base on a strikeout, throw-out, double play. It was all Astros in Game 6 as they beat the Red Sox to win the series, and for the third time since 2017, they're back in the World Series as they won 5-0. which is annoying for some people that are watching this because some people have something going on. Yeah. Some people are, in general, everyone's annoyed about the Astros being back in the World Series. Game 6, Atlanta, LA. This was a game to remember in general. Atlanta had an early lead. The Dodgers tied it. And then Eddie Rosario put a cap on his record and the NLCS MVP with a go-ahead game-sealing, though the Dodgers did get a run later on, 3-run home run to put them up 4-1. And even though the Dodgers got a run in the 9th, that was all she wrote, as the Braves are in the World Series for the first time since 1999 against the New York Yankees, as they won that game 4-2. And tonight, we have the start of the World Series, what everyone looks forward to when you think of baseball in October. Tonight, it's games at 8 o'clock, roughly, on Fox. All games of the World Series are on Fox, as usual. For the Braves, it's Charlie Morton. For the Astros, it's Framber Valdez. Lineups are actually out. For the Braves, it's Jorge Soler, who's their DH, batting leadoff, followed by Freddie Freeman, who plays first base, followed by Ozzie Albies, who plays second, followed by Austin Riley, who plays third base in the cleanup spot, aka fourth. Eddie Rosario, the NLCS MVP, who plays in left, batting fifth. Adam Duvall, who plays in center field, batting sixth. Travis d'Arnaud, who's the catcher behind the plate, batting seventh. Batting eighth is once a Cub, mainly a Dodger, except for this year, obviously, Jock Peterson, who plays in right, and followed by Dansby Swanson, who plays shortstop, batting ninth. With batting in the American League ballparks, pitchers don't get to hit. In the National League ballparks, or at least just for this year, they might go to universal DH for next year. We'll see. But NL pitchers do get to hit. So for the first two games, you'll have DH in the last two. But the middle three pitchers will get to hit. The Astros lineup, Altuve leads it off at second base. Brantley in the second two spot in left. Bregman in the three spot third. Yordan Alvarez, ALCS MVP, because he went off in the ALCS. The DH batting fourth. Correa at short batting fifth. Tucker in right batting sixth. Yuli Gurriel at first base batting seventh. Chas McCormick in center field batting eighth. And Martin Maldonado and catcher batting ninth. Prediction for the World Series. Now, if the Astros weren't cheaters in the past, then I would say Astros, because I do think realistically that, and I hate to say it now because they are cheaters, they are the better team and better lineup right now, and I don't know if the Braves are really going to be able to stop them. But I still hate the Astros for the cheating, and especially since if they win the World Series, like, people could just say, like, oh, so why do you cheat in 17 if you win the World Series this year? And that will just taint 2017 even more, no matter how much MLB won't take it away. Like, you could just have that question. So I'm going to say Braves in 6. Or I'll say Braves in 6. And that's MLB World Series preview. But that does start tonight. NBA finally started. Back in the NBA season. Some interesting results to this point. Opening night, you had the Nets and the Bucks. The Nets, the Bucks, I have to give them credit. They actually have a pretty good ring. Good credit to the Bucks on their ring. They did win opening night, 127-104. It was all of them in that night. Lakers, on their opening night, on the opening night of basketball, actually lost at home to the Warriors, 121-114. There are a bunch of games. I'm not going to go through all of them. But we've had some interesting results to this point. Teams that are standing out right now, the Bulls are 4-0, even though technically it's all against weak teams to this point, but they're looking good. They actually play the Knicks next, so that's going to be a good test. Let's see any other teams that really stand out. Utah's 2-0. And not so much. But to give the overall standings, the Bulls. I only give conference for NBA because no one cares about divisions anymore. Bulls are first in the East at 4-0, followed by the Hornets who are 3-1, followed by the Bucks that are 3-1, followed by the Knicks who are 2-1, followed by the Heat at 2-1, followed by the Wizards 2-1. I'm only gonna give like where the playoff seedings would be because once below that, you don't really care about that really till closer to the draft. And even that, well, there's a lottery for the pick, so you don't really care beyond the top 10. The top 10 because 7 through 10 is a play-in game for playoff spot. Followed by the Hawks who are 2-1. So are the Sixers who are behind them, and then the Cavs and the Nets and Celtics all have a record in 2-2. And then in the West, the Warriors are 3-0, followed by the Jazz who are 2-0, followed by Grizzlies, Nuggets, and Timberwolves who are all 2-1, followed by the Mavericks who are 1-1, followed by the Clippers that are Kings and Suns who are 1 and Trailblazers and Lakers who are all and Rockets and Spurs who are all 1-2. And that's this week's episode of the podcast. Thank you all for coming on. Hopefully going to dive in future more into NBA, especially once MLB ends. This was a crazy week of sports as usual. Even more crazier. Who knows? Next week could even be more crazier with what could happen in college football. Anything and everything could happen in college football in a week. So let's wrap this up. Thank you, everybody, for coming back for episode 4 now of the Benny in the Booth podcast. It was great for all that were able to come live. Next week, we'll have college football week 9. We'll have NFL week 8 and NFL week 9 predictions. We'll have the World Series, whether it's under wrap or if I'm going to have to talk about what it's up to at that point. I don't know. We'll see. And more NBA and maybe other news that pops up. If you are new, hit the subscribe button down below and turn on the notifications so you know when I go live with each episode. Leave a like. Follow me on Twitter for potential updates. Thanks for watching this week's episode, and I will see you next week for episode 5. Bye-bye.